Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now. The Cleveland Browns are drowning in losses. Their season has completely collapsed into chaos, and their coaching staff is facing withering criticism from every possible direction. But while the organization continues to publicly maintain that everything is proceeding according to plan, that they're fully committed to developing their rookie quarterback, and that all decisions are being made in the team's best interest, a TikTok investigator has just pulled back the curtain on what might be the most damning evidence yet, that Kevin Stefanski is actively, deliberately, and systematically sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. And folks, when you see these numbers, when you examine the statistical comparisons between how Sanders is being treated versus how other rookie quarterbacks around the league are being handled, the pattern becomes so blindingly obvious, so completely undeniable, that you simply cannot dismiss it as coincidence anymore. This is deliberate. This is calculated. This is organizational sabotage caught on camera with receipts, documentation, and statistical proof that destroys any remaining defense of Stefanski's approach. A TikTok user who goes by the handle Bueno Ball just dropped a video that's spreading through social media like absolute wildfire, and the breakdown he provides is utterly devastating for Kevin Stefanski's credibility and his reputation as a quarterback developer. This isn't some wild conspiracy theory built on hunches, feelings, or speculation from fans who are simply frustrated with losing. This is cold, hard statistical analysis that exposes a pattern of behavior so blatant, so obvious, and so indefensible that even the most loyal Stefanski defenders are struggling mightily to explain it away or justify it. What Bueno Ball discovered when he started comparing Shedeur Sanders' usage and opportunity levels to other rookie quarterbacks in this year's draft class, specifically Dillon Gabriel, who went to the Philadelphia Eagles, should absolutely infuriate every single Cleveland Browns fan who has invested emotional energy, time, and hope into believing this organization has finally found their franchise quarterback after decades of searching. Let's break down exactly what this TikTok investigation revealed step by step, because the evidence is absolutely shocking and paints a picture of coaching malpractice that borders on sabotage. Bueno Ball pulled up Shedeur Sanders' ESPN game log showing his statistics from each of his starts this season and placed it side by side with Dillon Gabriel's statistics from corresponding games in their respective seasons. The comparison immediately exposes something deeply, fundamentally wrong with how Cleveland is handling their rookie quarterback, and the differences are so stark that they cannot be explained by legitimate coaching philosophy or game situation variance. In Shedeur's very first NFL start against the Las Vegas Raiders, Kevin Stefanski called exactly 20 pass attempts, just 20 throws for a quarterback who threw for over 10,000 yards in college, who has one of the quickest releases in football, who processes defenses at an elite level, who demonstrated exceptional accuracy and decision-making throughout his collegiate career. Stefanski designed a game plan that artificially limited Sanders to just 20 attempts. That's not a game plan built to maximize your quarterback's strengths or give him the best chance to succeed. That's not a developmental approach designed to help a young quarterback gain experience and build confidence through repetition. That's a game plan specifically designed to minimize his impact on the game, to restrict his opportunities to make plays, and to ensure that the offense runs through other players and other aspects of the game plan rather than through the quarterback's arm. Now compare that incredibly restrictive approach to Dillon Gabriel's first start with the Philadelphia Eagles. Gabriel threw the ball 33 times in his NFL debut. 33 attempts compared to Shedeur's 20. That's 13 more passing attempts, which represents a 65% increase in volume and opportunity. And here's where things get really interesting and where the evidence of sabotage becomes impossible to deny. Despite having significantly more opportunities to throw the football, despite getting 13 additional chances to complete passes and accumulate yards, Dillon Gabriel finished his debut with fewer total passing yards than Shedeur Sanders. Let that reality settle in for a moment. Shedeur Sanders was more efficient, more effective, and more productive on a per-attempt basis than Gabriel. His yards per attempt were higher. His production was better despite having far fewer opportunities. Yet Kevin Stefanski gave him dramatically fewer chances to impact the game. If you're evaluating quarterbacks based on performance and results, which is supposedly how football works and how coaches make decisions about player usage, then the logical response after seeing Sanders perform efficiently in his debut would be to give him more attempts in his second start, not fewer. You would look at the numbers, recognize that your rookie quarterback handled his limited opportunities well, demonstrated good decision-making, protected the football, and produced positive results, and you would naturally conclude that he's earned the right to more responsibility and more chances to throw the ball. But apparently logic, reason, and merit-based decision-making don't apply in Cleveland under Kevin Stefanski's leadership. The second start makes the pattern even more obvious, even more egregious, and even more damning as evidence of deliberate sabotage. Bueno Ball points out in his video that in Shedeur's second NFL game, Stefanski called just 25 pass attempts. Only 25 throws for a quarterback who had already demonstrated efficiency and effectiveness in his debut, who had shown he could handle the responsibility, who had proven he belonged on an NFL field. Meanwhile, at the exact same point in his career trajectory, Dillon Gabriel was throwing the ball 52 times in his second start. 52 attempts compared to Shedeur's 25. That's more than double the volume. That's not a slight difference in offensive philosophy or game script variation based on how the game flowed. That's a completely, fundamentally different approach to how you develop and utilize your rookie quarterback. Think carefully about what this comparison reveals about the organizational approaches in Cleveland versus Philadelphia. We have two rookie quarterbacks drafted in the same year, both facing similar challenges of adjusting to NFL speed, NFL complexity, NFL defensive schemes, and NFL pressure. Both are talented players who showed promise in college and demonstrated the traits that made them draftable quarterbacks. Yet they're receiving radically, dramatically different treatment from their respective coaching staffs. One quarterback is being given every possible opportunity to throw the football, to learn through high-volume repetition, to make mistakes and grow from them in real game situations, to establish rhythm and timing with his receivers through continuous work, to build confidence through successful completions, and overcoming adversity when throws don't work out. The other quarterback is being systematically handcuffed with ultra-conservative game plans that minimize his involvement in the passing game, that prevent him from establishing any kind of rhythm or timing with his receivers, that make it nearly impossible to demonstrate what he's truly capable of accomplishing when given real opportunities and real trust from his coaching staff. And somehow, despite this incredibly restrictive approach that would cripple most young quarterbacks, despite having his opportunities artificially limited in ways that make no football sense, Shedeur Sanders is still producing at a remarkably high level. He's completing passes at a good percentage. His decision-making has been sound. He's protecting the football and avoiding turnovers. He's making plays when given the chance. Just imagine what he could accomplish if Stefanski actually trusted him with normal, reasonable passing volume, like other rookie quarterbacks around the league are receiving. The most recent game before the TikTok video was posted, the contest where Shedeur absolutely dominated with 364 passing yards and 4 total touchdowns, provides the absolute smoking gun evidence that completely destroys any remaining defense of Stefanski's approach. Finally, after multiple weeks of restricting Shedeur to absurdly low passing volumes that made no sense given his performance, Stefanski called 42 pass attempts. And what happened when Sanders was finally given something approaching normal opportunity levels for an NFL quarterback? He absolutely went off. He threw for over 350 yards. He accounted for 4 touchdowns. He completely outplayed Cam Ward, who was the #1 overall pick in the draft, and is considered one of the premier quarterback prospects in the entire class. He showed everyone watching nationally that when given actual opportunities to throw the football and impact the game, he's one of the most talented young quarterbacks in the entire league. He proved beyond any shadow of doubt that the conservative approach in his first 2 starts wasn't about protecting him from mistakes, wasn't about gradually building his confidence, and wasn't about proper developmental sequencing. It was about artificially suppressing his production and preventing him from showing what he's capable of accomplishing. Here's where the conspiracy transforms from theory into undeniable fact that cannot be explained away. If your rookie quarterback performs well with limited attempts in his first start, completing passes efficiently and showing good decision-making, the logical coaching response is to give him more attempts in his second start to continue building on that success and accelerating his development. If he continues performing well despite limited volume, showing that he can handle the responsibility and make good decisions under pressure, you gradually increase his involvement in the offense to maximize his impact and give him more opportunities to grow. That's basic, fundamental coaching logic that every successful organization around the league follows when developing young quarterbacks. It's not complicated or controversial. It's common sense backed by decades of evidence about how quarterback development works best. Instead of following that logical progression, Stefanski actually gave Shedeur fewer attempts in his second start than his first, dropping from 20 to what should have been an increase to 30 or 35. Then, after 2 games of artificial restriction that made no football sense, he suddenly jumped all the way to 42 attempts in the third game. What changed between Game 2 and Game 3 that would justify such a dramatic shift in philosophy? Nothing about Shedeur's performance or preparedness justified the earlier restrictions. Nothing about the specific game situations or opponent defensive schemes explained the dramatic difference in approach across these 3 games. The only logical explanation that fits all the facts is that Stefanski was deliberately, intentionally limiting Shedeur's opportunities until external pressure, whether from the front office, from media criticism, from fan outrage, or from some combination of all 3, finally forced his hand and compelled him to give Sanders the opportunities he should have been getting from day one. Bueno Ball's video captures this absurdity perfectly when he says, with clear frustration and disbelief in his voice, "Look at how ridiculous this is." Because it truly is ridiculous. It's completely indefensible from any legitimate football perspective. The statistical evidence proves conclusively that Shedeur Sanders was performing well enough from his very first start to earn significantly more opportunities. Yet Stefanski was actively, deliberately denying him those opportunities for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with football merit, performance evaluation, or proper developmental planning. And when Stefanski was finally forced by circumstances to give Shedeur normal passing volume in that third game, the rookie quarterback immediately and spectacularly validated exactly why he should have been throwing 40-plus times from the very beginning of his NFL career. This isn't speculation or reading too much into small sample sizes or overanalyzing limited data. This is a clear, well-documented pattern spanning multiple games that shows a head coach systematically restricting his rookie quarterback's development and opportunities until external circumstances forced him to change his approach. The fact that Sanders immediately thrived when given normal volume proves that the earlier restrictions were never justified by his performance or readiness. They were artificial limitations imposed by coaching philosophy or bias that had nothing to do with what was best for the player or the team. The comparison to Dillon Gabriel is particularly damning and devastating because it completely eliminates all the standard excuses and rationalizations that Stefanski apologists might try to offer in his defense. You cannot claim that 20 pass attempts in a debut start is normal or reasonable when Gabriel threw 33 times in his first game. You cannot argue that conservative game plans are standard operating procedure for all rookie quarterbacks across the league, when Gabriel was throwing 52 times in his second game while Shedeur was artificially stuck at just 25 attempts. You cannot hide behind vague platitudes about developmental timelines and bringing young players along slowly when the evidence clearly objectively shows that other rookie quarterbacks in the same draft class are being given significantly more opportunities to grow through volume and game experience. The double standard in how Shedeur is being treated compared to his peers is obvious to anyone examining the statistics honestly. It's thoroughly documented in these game logs, and it's completely inexcusable from any perspective that prioritizes player development and team success. What makes this situation even more frustrating and infuriating for Browns fans is that, despite the artificially restrictive approach, despite being given dramatically fewer opportunities than his contemporaries around the league, despite operating in an offensive system that seems specifically designed to minimize his impact and limit his ability to influence game outcomes, Shedeur Sanders is still performing at an elite level relative to other rookies. His efficiency numbers are excellent. His completion percentage is solid. His decision-making has been consistently sound, with very few truly poor choices or dangerous throws. He's protecting the football and avoiding turnovers that kill drives and put the defense in difficult positions. He's making plays with his legs when the pocket breaks down and showing mobility that extends plays and creates opportunities. And in that most recent game where he finally received 42 attempts and something approaching normal usage, he showed exactly what he's capable of when the coaching staff finally gets out of his way and lets him actually play football. 364 yards and 4 touchdowns isn't luck or statistical anomaly or one-game fluke. That's a genuine statement performance that proves he belongs among the very top rookie quarterbacks in this entire draft class and deserves to be mentioned alongside the first-round picks who are getting far more attention and publicity. The post-game press conference after that spectacular performance added yet another damning layer to this increasingly obvious conspiracy and pattern of sabotage. When asked directly about being taken out of the game for those crucial 2-point conversion attempts, despite his incredible performance that had given the team a chance to tie the game, Shedeur showed remarkable restraint and professionalism in his response. "If I'm out there on any play, I wish I always had the ball in my hands," he said, carefully and diplomatically threading the needle between expressing his natural competitive nature and not overtly, publicly criticizing his coaches in a way that would create headlines and controversy. But everyone watching that press conference, everyone who heard those words and saw his body language, could read between the lines and understand exactly what he was really saying. Of course, he wanted the ball in his hands at that absolutely critical moment. He had just thrown for over 350 yards. He had carried the entire offense on his back throughout the game. He had orchestrated multiple scoring drives. He had made clutch throw after clutch throw under pressure. He had earned the right 10 times over to attempt those conversions and try to tie that game. And once again, for reasons that make zero football sense, Stefanski took the ball out of his hands at the single most critical moment of the entire game, the moment when everything was on the line and the season hung in the balance. Kevin Stefanski's post-game comments were even more revealing in their complete emptiness and lack of substance or accountability. "Not going to get into all the specifics, but obviously it did not go as we thought it would," he said, offering absolutely no substantive explanation whatsoever for his decision-making process or the reasoning behind benching his quarterback in that crucial moment. Then he added the classic non-accountability statement. "I'm responsible for all of it," which sounds like genuine accountability and taking ownership when you first hear it, but actually means absolutely nothing without acknowledging what specifically went wrong, why those decisions were made, what the thought process was, and how he plans to fix the problems going forward. This is precisely the kind of empty coach speak that drives fans absolutely insane, because it creates the superficial appearance of taking responsibility, while actually avoiding any real accountability or examination of the decision-making process. Stefanski accepts blame in the abstract, in the general sense, while completely refusing to address the specific decisions that cost his team a legitimate chance to win the game. He won't explain why Sanders was benched. He won't justify the Wildcat formations. He won't articulate what he was thinking or what information led to those choices. He just says, "I'm responsible," and moves on, leaving everyone frustrated and without answers. The pattern that Bueno Ball exposed in his viral TikTok video isn't just about raw passing volume numbers in isolation. It's about what those passing volume discrepancies reveal about the coaching staff's fundamental trust level in their quarterback, their genuine commitment to his development versus their public statements about development, and their willingness to actually build an offensive system around his natural strengths rather than forcing him into a predetermined scheme regardless of fit. When you artificially limit a talented young quarterback to just 20 or 25 pass attempts per game, you're not giving him a real, genuine opportunity to succeed and show what he can do. You're forcing him to be essentially perfect with extremely limited chances, while simultaneously denying him the repetitions that are absolutely necessary to develop rhythm with receivers, timing on routes, confidence in decision-making, and comfort operating within the offensive system. It's the football equivalent of tying one hand behind someone's back, making them perform a complex task with that artificial handicap, and then evaluating their performance as if they had full, unrestricted use of both hands. The evaluation is fundamentally unfair, and the restrictions serve no legitimate developmental purpose. Compare this deeply flawed approach to how genuinely successful organizations around the league develop their rookie quarterbacks. Teams that truly believe in their young signal callers give them the ball early and often. They accept that mistakes will inevitably happen as part of the learning process. They trust that the developmental process requires volume and real game experience, not artificial restrictions and overprotective game planning. They understand that throwing 35 to 45 times per game is exactly how quarterbacks develop proper timing with their receivers, learn to read NFL defenses at game speed, process information quickly under pressure, and build the confidence that's absolutely necessary to make plays in crucial moments when the game is on the line. The Browns' approach with Shedeur suggests the complete opposite philosophy and priority structure. The game plans seem designed to minimize his opportunities, restrict his impact on outcomes, and only give him real volume when circumstances and external pressure absolutely force their hand. That's not development in any meaningful sense. That's suppression. That's limitation. That's keeping a talented player in a box for reasons that have nothing to do with what's best for his growth or the team's success. The conspiracy theory that Bueno Ball presents and documents in his video isn't really a conspiracy theory at all when you honestly examine the evidence he's compiled. It's a conspiracy fact. It's documented reality. The statistical comparison proves beyond any reasonable doubt that Shedeur Sanders is being treated fundamentally differently than other rookie quarterbacks in his draft class, and that differential treatment cannot be explained by performance, preparation, or legitimate developmental reasoning. The dramatic increase in passing volume once external pressure mounted and criticism reached fever pitch proves conclusively that the earlier restrictions weren't based on football reasoning or evaluation of Sanders' readiness. And Shedeur's immediate, spectacular success when finally given normal passing volume proves that he was always fully capable of handling significantly more responsibility than Stefanski was willing to give him. Connect those dots honestly, and the conclusion becomes absolutely unavoidable. Kevin Stefanski has been deliberately, systematically limiting Shedeur Sanders' opportunities to succeed and showcase his abilities. The natural question that inevitably follows from that conclusion is why? Why would a head coach deliberately sabotage his own rookie quarterback? Why would Stefanski actively work to prevent the development of a player the organization spent valuable draft capital to acquire? Why would he undermine someone who could potentially be the franchise quarterback this organization has desperately needed for over 2 decades? Several theories exist to explain this bizarre behavior, and honestly, none of them reflect well on the Cleveland Browns organization or Kevin Stefanski's fitness to lead this team. The most charitable explanation, the one that assumes good intentions despite catastrophically poor execution, is that Stefanski genuinely doesn't believe in Shedeur's ability at the NFL level and was trying to protect him from failure and public embarrassment by artificially limiting his exposure to high-pressure situations. But that supposedly charitable explanation completely falls apart when you remember that Shedeur performed well despite those artificial restrictions, consistently demonstrating good decision-making and efficiency, which strongly suggests that Stefanski's initial evaluation was completely wrong from the very beginning, and that his lack of trust was never justified by actual performance.